This is Wayne Biebel for ARC 631, Architectural Theory 2, Fall of 2025. And this is the presentation of my final paper, At the Heart of the Architect. When we observe the scale at which architecture exists, we easily see the romanticized, monumental, iconic, and historical context. Synchronistically, the larger part is the surrounding smaller, more modest and responsive structures that support life and living. Therefore, architecture is not simply a pursuit to generate isolated products or romanticize art objects encouraging replication and praise. It is rather a collective cultural production unfolding. So between these scales, what must commonly lie at the heart of an architect is the human scale, which inevitably requires engaging empathy and awareness. When we survey the traditional model of architecture, the Vitruvian triad of firmness, commodity, and delight are at the core. Both in the classic and contemporary context, architecture can be seen to operate as high art, which appears to emphasize that society desires and glorifies sculptural strength and beauty in monumental and innovative form. The risk being that, with an imbalance in these principles, architecture becomes a product, while commodity becomes a byproduct of the process, potentially disengaging us from the human scale. Less referred to than as principles is perhaps the context of Vitruvius's opening statement to Caesar Augustus, where clearly present in his mind's eye and his heart was the need to inform an architecture that was for the public good and community life at large, rather than conquest and control of one man alone. Meaning, from origin, architects have had a connection to the responsibility of meaningful social production. Per review of contemporary Pritzker Prize laureates and their work, we can see that social engagement is common precedent for praise. Two successful examples of social engagement in practice are architects Balkrishna V. Doshi, who championed an architecture for the people, setting precedent in incremental design in urban India as early as the late 70s, and Francis Kere, who was able to activate participation of an entire local community in the construction of a primary school, proving an incremental, adaptable, user-driven approach using local materials and a participatory process can result in sustainable, high-quality architecture. Encountering challenges in implementing socially engaged architecture is inevitable. As an example, we look to Paolo Soleri's Arcosanti project in Arizona, a conceptual vision of a utopian arcology, where a fusion of architecture and ecology is meant to evolve human society beyond the social burdens of a capitalistic and consumer one. Ultimately, location, lack of resources, and a lack of collaboration and interest restricted formal success and adoption. Using B.V. Doshi's Aranya housing project and Soleri's Arcosanti as case studies to examine the strengths and weaknesses in applying socially engaged architecture, we find key differences being a collaborative incremental model and an isolated formalist one. Notable as well is that one project has an existing socio-economic end-user group with preconditioned needs, while the other is experimentally attempting to develop a new socioeconomic structure and their needs. Upon careful review of these cases, evidence is given to show that there are limits to vision. Architecture succeeds when it is carefully informed, collaborative, empathetic, and socially responsive. Doshi is quoted as saying, "We must shift from a selfish perspective to an attitude of exchange." Soleri's isolated vision, unfortunately limited inclusivity, and it limited engagement, which ultimately dampened the formal success and adoption of the project. In culmination, we can see that at scale, empathy, a direct link from research to design, and extensive collaboration are at the heart of socially engaged architecture. Furthermore, incremental and co-creative models have the power of lasting impact and success in a social fabric. And though top-down formalist models have worked in the past, they risk isolation and overall ineffectiveness in applying socially engaged architecture in a meaningful way. In closing, an open mind and an open heart. At the heart of the architect today, we see vulnerability and humility, empathetic engagement, a balance of firmness, commodity, and delight, while serving the human dignity and well-being through resilient design. Thank you.